This was dirt.
Yeah, because you would look at this and think, well, this has always been.
No,
This
see,
has always been.
and I'll show you when we get to the bottom. Oak Ridge was only just off of Main Street. Oak Ridge didn't come all the way down, even when this subdivision started.
Wow,
Those houses were built. All these houses, you'll see when we get down here. These houses were built later.
Okay.
And see, you'll see there's a Cedar Lane here, and that actually comes off of a commercial property at the end up there. So what people don't realize is that, Travis Street went through, but there was already some development up here that people didn't realize. And all of this is much later.
Okay. And Travis Street is the World War I doctor.
World War I doctor. And see, that's the road that two of the houses are going to face.
Okay.
But you notice this isn't old,
No.
This is obviously a modern house, and so is the one next to it. And the houses above this were all built. They extended the street after Travis was put in. Remember, this subdivision doesn't start until 67.
Which you would think, Bowling Green, it's just a lot of old homes.
What people don't realize is how it's sort of, and that's what I was trying to say, is that it was subdividing of lots in town, and then people would buy something and build something.
Okay.
So it's sort of this incremental growth in the town. It's not, we're going to build a big subdivision. This was the first big subdivision in Bowling Green in the 60s, mid-60s. So after you get past that, then they start, and we don't have to walk the whole road, we get to the top of the hill. I'll point out to you what's what, because what's interesting is when I talk about the Red Barn,
yeah,
all these buildings are still here that were built 1820.
Wow.
With the house, which is also still here.
So you really have a mixture of the old and new.
Complete mixture.
Yeah.
The houses down here are all new, on Oak Ridge. Everything up this way is built in the late 60s, mid 70s. And then you've got the house coming up on our right that was built in 1820, and this was the original dairy.
Okay, there it is.
So that's the back.
Yeah.
Of Broadhurst, which is the name of the family that built it. So that was the original house. This was the farm, and all this is cut off of Broadhurst.
Fascinating.
So what they're moving into, and see, the goal when they built this was to keep as many of the old trees as they could.
Sure.
So that was really the focus, is they wanted a subdivision. They didn't want postage-sized lots.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted something bigger, and that was, the trend around Caroline then was nicer houses, smaller lots, not 15, 20, 30 acres, but 2 acre, 3 acre.
Right, smaller.
Small, right, something you could manage. So we call this the roller coaster road.
It certainly is.
People come flying down here sometimes. But up on the right,
there's the Red Barn.
And
is that the Red Barn right there?
That's the Red Barn right there. And then this is where I live.
Okay.
Which is why we call our house Red Barn View. And I told you I'm a beekeeper, so let's...
there's your beehives.
These are some of them. I've had as many as 7 here. And these were swarms that I caught last year, which is why the boxes, my wife's like, I don't know why you don't fix those, because I never think about it when I'm going in them.
Right.
But, so, still bees in town.
So is growth an issue in Bowling Green yet?
There's just not much left.
Okay.
I mean, they subdivided this, and it becomes very difficult to then divide it again.
Yeah.
Because of, some have utilities, some don't. But when you get, so this is sort of the high spot.
Yeah, it does. It goes up and down. You're right.
So Dan Webb's grandfather built this house. Let's get out of the forestry department's way. So our house was built in 76. Susan's parents built it. Spencer Allen built his house in 68. Susie Hicks, which is Earl's sister, built the house up there, and she's still there. And Woody Barlow built the house on the hill, the first one. That was Earl Chilton's wife's older brother.
So the people who are the Habitat people really are moving into a family type community.
Correct. And so when you look, you know, there's Lacey Lane. There are 9 houses on Lacey Lane. And most of those are still owned, well, 5 years ago, those were all still owned by the original builders.
Yeah.
Dan is Earl's grandson. Dan now owns Earl's house. The church bought Woody's house, Bowling Green Baptist. And this was Susan's parents' house. So we've moved into it.
Yeah.
Spencer and Barbara, still here, built the house originally.
I appreciate this, Jeff, because you don't get this kind of history everywhere. in certain, you know, not many subdivisions have the history or the knowledge like you have.
Let me show you inside the barn, because this was interesting. When Emily and Earl were still alive, they ate in the barn 3 nights a week.
Oh, okay.
Susie Hicks, Emily's other sister that lived right down Route 2.
Yeah.
And some others, they would all fix a dish.
And come and eat in the barn.
Somebody would make the main course, and they would eat in the barn. So the big deal was to be invited
to the barn
to eat in the barn with everybody else.
Oh yeah, look at this.
So when you look at that, stove works, and then you would use that to heat the barn. It's an old cook stove. You'd grill. Okay?
Yeah.
And over in the corner, I have an observation hive that's been there since the 90s.
Okay.
That I've always maintained for Earl. This was the walk-in cooler that Earl bought from a business in town, and until recently, the whole community used it. Dan's got to rehab it. It's finally bit the dust. But I mean, everybody, when the Little League when the Rutons did a fish fry, the fish came here. When the Rutons did the Brunswick stew, that came here. When the Little League did hamburgers and hot dogs, a lot of times, all that bulk would get bought and stored here. So this was a real hub.
Yeah.
Earl did a saltfish breakfast once every spring. I did the last 15 of them for him, but it went on for 40 years. They did turkey shoots out the back of the barn for a long time. So this was sort of the hub.
Right.
Everybody came here.
Yeah.
So it was a different sort of, we're on the tail end of that now, but you know, in its heyday, Susan's father was retired from the Army. Yeah. When they retired, they built that house, but her grandparents lived right up the street from the Habitat's house. There's a brick 2-story that her grandparents built. Her grandfather reclaimed the bricks in Essex from an old structure there, brought them here, cleaned them, and built the house. So when you look at, you know, you say Habitat's coming, this was sort of like family moving in, everybody who moved here.
Right.
You know, when you look at Susie Hicks was Earl's sister, Woody Barlow was Emily's brother, Spencer grew up in Milford. They all knew each other.
Yeah.
Everybody knew each other. So it's just an extension of where we were and where we're going.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, fascinating. Thank you.